the minute I start. Good evening. Call this meeting to order and ask you to rise and salute the flag. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Consent calendar, or no, excuse me, roll call, please.
Member Zaragoza.
Here.
Member List.
Here.
Chair Friend. Member Juba.
Here.
Member Keeney.
Adoption of the agenda and adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Common consent. Are there any items to be pulled from the agenda? At this time, we will do a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda tonight? We go from 150 last meeting to one this meeting. We're moving right ahead. Items of interest from staff?
There is no communication other than what's been presented to you in your packet for tonight's meeting.
Would you speak briefly about the email that you sent us in regards to the in our last meeting, the dog training center,
Yes,
and one of the neighbors has filed an appeal to the city council?
that's correct.
Can you kind of go over that process with us?
Sure. The appeal was filed timely. It was filed on Friday, and deadline was 5 o'clock on Friday. It was filed somewhere in the afternoon. I was not at City Hall on that day, but Pierre Rivas did take the request in. What this means is, under our code, an appeal must be heard by the city council when an appeal is filed within 40 days. So I tried to reach out to the city clerk today. She apparently is not in the office either, but I will confirm with her as to what date the council will hear that item. So at this point, I don't know what meeting date it would be, but just for discussion tonight, the 40th day would be October the 10th. And council does meet on the 9th, so that could possibly be one of those dates. So at a hearing such as that, based on the request by the appellant, there are certain things that they are appealing regarding the commission's approval. I won't go into those in any detail, but the way the process would work is very similar to the way you would handle a request. The council would consider the appeal and the notice and all the contents that the appellant has brought forward. They would hear from the appellant. We would again provide a public notice to, as we did during your hearing. So additional public comment could be received by that time, and the council would serve as the final decision-making body regarding this appeal request. So the council could take three different options. They could uphold the decision by the commission. They could deny the request for an appeal, or they could change the determination and approval of the project by changing its components. They could add conditions of approval, et cetera, et cetera. It's really kind of open-ended on their end. That's kind of in summary what will likely take place within the next 40 days or so. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on to public hearing, item 4.1. Project is 3001 Jacquard Road. Site plan review 16-02 16-0-E and variance 1601-E. Staff report.
I'll pause while Chair Friend takes a seat.
Oh, carry on, please. Please carry on. He's doing a great job.
The entitlements for the site plan review and variance for the Jakeway Road project site were granted back in January of 2017 by the Commission. And the project involves the construction of a 112-room hotel, hotel amenities, roadway improvements for the project located on Jakeway Road near the intersection of Point View and US 50. Under the site plan review provisions of City Code, the Commission may consider a request for a time extension if the request is timely filed prior to its expiration and fees paid. A timely request was filed by the property owner and their agent, and it was filed prior to the expiration date of July 17th. No changes to the project are proposed this evening. There have been no changes to City Code that would affect the project since its approval back in January of 2017. Again, this request is to extend the site plan review and variance for 12 additional months. And if approved, the new expiration date would be July 17th of 2019. The project conditions approved in 2017 remain part of the project approval, and environmental analysis for the project was adopted by the Commission also in 2017. Those would remain in effect. The staff received no public comment regarding this request for the time extension. Staff therefore recommends findings A, B, and C that were provided on page 3 of the staff report, then grant the time extension request for site plan review 16-02E and variance 16-01E.
Carry on, sir.
All right, any questions for staff?
Just, I guess, is this just a economic, just trying to figure out what the reasoning behind the extension beyond, what's before us today.
Well,
is there anything else we should be aware of?
The applicant didn't specify a reason, and the code doesn't require one.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's not a representative here tonight either,
No.
correct?
No. The person in the audience is for the next item.
Yes.
Mrs. Hokinson.
Just on something like this, on such a big project, I would just hope that we would have had somebody here so that it's not just a pro forma type of thing, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Just in case I include.
I forgot that. I'm not very good at this. We'll open it for public comment. Does anybody have a comment from the public on item 4.1? Seeing none, back to the commissioners. Any comments, questions, or move a...
Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, I concur with Commissioner Saragosa's comments. It would be nice to have some information, but as staff indicated, it's not required. So in the absence of that, in the absence of any reason that in my review of my packet, which is not with me at the moment, I would make a motion to approve the request extension.
Second.
Second. Okay. Anything else? We have a roll call vote, please.
Member Juba. Yes. Chair Friend.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem List.
Aye.
Member Saragosa.
Aye.
Item 4.2, project at 863 Kennard Road, variance 18-02. Staff report, please.
Karen Hokinson is the property owner for 863 Conrad Court, and she is requesting a side yard setback variance so that she may construct a second bedroom to her one-bedroom home. The variance request is to allow a 3-foot side yard setback where a 5-foot minimum setback under Section 1043A of City Code requires. Zoning for the property and project site is single-family residential with a 6,000 square foot minimum lot, or abbreviated, we call it R1 6000. The existing parcel area for the site, however, is approximately 3,000 square feet, so roughly half that of the minimum under the zoning. Parcel width is approximately 55 feet. The parcel minimum width in the R16 zone is 60. The parcel existed before the effective date of the R16000 zone. It is considered legal, non-conforming to the minimum parcel area of the zoning, as well as the minimum parcel width required under the R16 zone. There is a provision within City Code to address parcels that are old, let's say, and the provision to allow for the parcels that are legal of record, parcels divided or sales executed before the effective date of the zone, that have a minimum, or excuse me, have a less than minimum parcel area width of the zone in which they're currently classified. This code section would require a minimum side yard setback of 5 feet. Again, the normal side yard setback for an R16 zone would be 10% of the lot width, which could be 6, 7, 8 feet, depending on the width of the lot. The Commission's authority tonight under the variance is provided under Section 1035 of City Code. The Commission may grant a variance to the zoning regulation only when there are special and specific circumstances of the property that the strict application of the zoning ordinance would deprive the property of privileges enjoyed by other properties in the vicinity under identical zoning classification. It was determined by staff after its review of this request that the request meets the criteria to be categorically exempt from the environmental review of the California Environmental Quality Act under Section 15305A. Also, the intent of the variance is to grant authority to the property owner to construct a second bedroom to the existing single-family residence. The project location is land use designated and classified for single-family use. The variance would therefore help facilitate the construction consistent with the single-family residential land use designation and zone for that second bedroom. The home's existing non-conforming side yard setback and the project site's non-conforming parcel area are circumstances that create unnecessary hardship limitations for the owner if the minimum zoning side yard setback minimum is imposed on this new construction of a second bedroom. This request would not constitute a special privilege to this property owner due to the existence of non-conforming side yard setbacks of the adjoining lot at 865 Conrad Court, and the existence of primarily 2- and 3-bedroom homes within the Conrad Court and Conrad Street neighborhood. The request would also not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or injure property in the vicinity in that, number one, the home addition would be constructed entirely on the project site, extending the existing home's exterior wall along the non-conforming side yard setback, but not further encroach upon that setback. Also, the applicant has submitted a letter of support from the neighboring property owner, the property owner most affected by this construction if it's approved under the variance, and that is the property and owner of 865 Conrad Court, neighbor Julie Robinson. Staff therefore believes the Commission can make the mandatory findings to support the approval of variance 18-02. Staff recommends the Commission approve the request by taking actions Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3 on page 5 of staff's report, subject to conditions 1 through 6, as provided as attachment A. The applicant, Karen Hokinson, is in the audience this evening, and that concludes my staff report.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I had a couple of questions.
Go
Thank you, Mr. Chair Pro Tem. If I understand correctly, Andrew, even without the additional construction, the home is already non-conforming with regards to the 5 feet. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so even if, but they don't have to get a variance for that because they're grandfathered in.
It
with the rules.
exists, yes.
I didn't understand, as you described on page 2 of the staff report, this had to do with the city code when implemented.
Yeah.
And it talked about if such a parcel has less than the minimum required, the minimum side yard, the minimum in all is reduced to 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't speak to if there wasn't 5 feet available. That seems to have been left out of either the code or the explanation.
The intent is that new construction would have to meet the setback requirement.
Okay. And there's a number of parcels, the older parcels that
Yes.
have this irregularity. So it's,
Yes.
I didn't have a real concern when I read through it.
Yeah,
Okay.
quite a few of the neighboring, one in particular is the immediate neighbor, as referenced by the submittal materials and the staff report. But there are also other properties on Conrad Street that are very small lots, not as small as this one, but the buildings are set back very close to the side property lines. And so there is some, I say, continuity with having that kind of non-conforming
Sure.
related issue. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Anybody else? At this time, if the applicant would come to the microphone, if you would, please.
Hi, I'm Karen Hokinson. I went ahead and took the advice to get the property surveyed, and there's actually another foot that is on that property line that's in question, where the fence and the retaining wall is a foot in on the property that I own. So there's a 4-foot setback instead of a 3-foot setback.
Okay.
But
Any
Yeah.
questions from the commissioners of the?
The packet that you submitted, there's a drawing of the parcel, and there's a segment that says trade for driveway to 861.
right, and
How does
I
that work?
I just found out about how that all worked from the person that surveyed the property, and it was a whole family that owned all 3 houses that are around me, and they kind of split it all up so each person could have a home. In 1971, I believe, 71 to 73. So where it was like a rectangular shape, then my property lost the west side of the property and then was given the backyard of 861. So there were a family, the Gray family, owned all 3 lots, and then they divided them up so the 2 children could have a house, and that's what I got was a bigger backyard for a driveway for 861 was how the property was realigned at that time period.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your lot is about 3,000 square feet. Your existing house is 800 square feet,
It said it's 776,
okay?
but that was when it had a basement bedroom, so it no longer has that. So the house is about 700. I recalculated it. It's a little bit over 700 square feet.
Okay. And then the size of the addition that you're,
Well, I can't go over 1,004 square feet. So I have to be within 35% of that lot size of that 3,000 square feet. So yeah, I would stay underneath that 1,000 square foot minimum.
okay? Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Bringing it back to the commissioners. Questions, comments?
Just, it's interesting that I live in a home that was built in 1941, and apparently there was a vacant lot between our property and the neighbors next to us. And so years ago, they split that parcel, so we both got more yard, and my detached garage is a 0 lot line. It's built right on the property line. So I'm sympathetic to these types of things. And as the observation I made before, the property with the house already is out of code. I don't see any special privilege or detriment to anyone or harm by granting the request. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just the same comment for me. Same thing. I have a 1889 house, and my detached garage is a 0 lot line, and I know we're not atypical to the Placerville topography of how the houses were built before. So same thing. I don't see any special circumstance here that we would be doing a special circumstance for this particular variance. So I'm ready to entertain a motion anytime.
All right, we'll accept your motion.
All right, so I'll go ahead and make that an official motion. Then I move we approve variance 18-02 for a 3-foot setback at 1863 Conrad Court. And as part of these findings, we adopt Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, A through E, and Roman numeral 3, which is the variance, numbers 1 through 6 on page 5 and 6 of the staff report for item 4.2.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Speak to the motion, against the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Before we do that, there was a comment raised by Ms. Hokinson regarding the survey work that she had done. It was I did not know that took place. Officially, apparently, her current structure is 4 feet from the property line. Do we perhaps want to amend this approval for to be consistent with that existing 4-foot setback? I don't know if I'm making myself clear. I guess I'm confusing myself too.
Could we amend it in such a way that the future addition would be in line with the existing?
You could, yeah, and not further encroach into
Right.
that.
Do you understand?
You want to make a friendly amendment on that?
Go ahead, yeah.
Or I'm not sure I understood.
I'm comfortable with the
Are we happy with 3 feet?
Andrew's comments are on point for sure, but I'm still comfortable with the motion as is. If for no other reason, then there are already portions of the home where you have a 3-foot line. And then if something happens with the construction and they creep a little bit more, then they're not out of conformance with the variance that we've granted. So
It actually may benefit her if she were to
Yes.
have a gutter or something on that side of it. I'm not saying that she would, but if she would, then it wouldn't further encroach because
or a
she
sun
already
window
have
that pops out or anything.
You'd
that
have a
might
foot
protrude.
of a.
So you have a foot to play with extra. So I'd be happy with the motion as presented.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, but I appreciate the staff's comment on that.
All right. If you'll roll call,
Yeah,
please.
Member Saragosa,
Aye.
Member Juba,
Aye.
Chair Friend,
Yes?
Chair Pro Tem List.
Aye. Passes. Thank you very much.
Technically, it's appealable. Somebody could appeal within 10
Yes, this could be appealed to the city council within 10 working days. Item number 5, matters before commissioners and staff. Matters for commissioners. Anything from staff?
From staff, yes, the staff was informed that, let's see, no, I kicked that. The variance request on Oak Terrace Road, you may remember that from, I think it was, June or July? That involved the carport. And the council did hear that item last week and did approve the variance request. They also want to let you know publicly that a notice of appeal was filed regarding the Planning Commission's approval last meeting for the Competition Canine Training Center. And at this point, I don't have a date in which that will be heard by City Council, but that would be obviously publicly noticed. We would do our normal due diligence of getting agendas and staff reports, of course, on the website.
Andrew, if you could be kind enough to inquire as to whether or not they want someone from Planning Commission there for that I assume they might want us, at least me probably, in the audience, just in case there's a question. But if they
It's hard to
don't-
tell at this point.
If
Yeah.
they don't, that's fine too.
Yeah.
So if you'd be kind enough to make the inquiry.
I can inquire with the city clerk, who can reach out to the mayor and/or the vice mayor, and we'll go from there. Yeah. At this point, we have no agenda items for the next regular scheduled meeting of this month. At this particular moment, I don't have really an agenda for the first meeting in October, but that may change. So at this particular moment, you are gone silent for at least one meeting, and that concludes my comments tonight.
Okay.
Well, just like to remind everyone and the members of our vast viewing audience that the Downtown Oktoberfest is on the 22nd of this month. And a lot of very good beer will be flowing. I sampled it off the tank this morning.
Just to be clear, the Oktoberfest is on the 22nd of
September, yes. The
Okay.
Oktoberfest runs from the beginning of the autumnal equinox for 2.5 weeks, plus or minus. Thank you for that.
Question of nomenclature.
Yeah.
My 17-year-old dachshund will be in full attendance that day, having a good time.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
We move to adjourn.